In the future, a powerful corporation has changed medicine forever by creating artificial organs that can save almost any life. The company, known as the Union, sells these organs on credit, giving desperate people a second chance when they have no other option. But there's a catch. The organs are so expensive that most customers spend their entire lives trying to pay off the debt. As more and more people fall behind on their payments, the Union faces a growing problem: millions of defaulters. To solve it, the company creates a brutal solution: Repo Men. These highly trained agents hunt down anyone who misses their payments. Once they find a target, they reclaim the company's property by any means necessary, even if it means taking the organ back by force. One of the best Repo Men is Remy. A tattoo on his neck marks him as a collector for the Union, and his reputation is unmatched. When Remy gets a target, escape is almost impossible. On a new assignment, Remy tracks down a man spending the night with a woman in his apartment. Just as the two get close, Remy suddenly appears and incapacitates the man with a stun shot. When the woman tries to intervene, she is knocked unconscious as well. With the room secured, Remy calmly puts on his work gear and headphones. He then pulls out his surgical tools and begins the procedure. Opening the man's chest, he removes the artificial organ that was purchased from the Union. After carefully cleaning and packing the organ into his bag, Remy walks away without hesitation, leaving the man behind as if he were just another completed job. The next morning, Remy is back home with his wife Carol and their son Peter. Despite the brutal work he does, Remy genuinely loves his family. He drops Peter off at school, then heads back to work. Once on the job, Remy continues hunting down defaulters, taking back the Union's organs one target at a time. Later, when he enters the office, he briefly crosses paths with a man wearing a child's costume, but doesn't think much of it. Inside, Remy meets his boss, Frank, who is speaking with a desperate family that needs an artificial organ but can't afford one. Nearby, Remy's old friend Raymond is changing clothes. Raymond was fired after attacking a woman on the subway, and he's clearly struggling to stay out of trouble. Frank suddenly walks in and warns them never to enter through the front door. If customers see Repo Men coming and going, they might panic and stop trusting the Union. As the artificial organs are being scanned, Jake suddenly points a gun at Remy, but it's only a joke between two longtime friends. Remy and Jake have known each other since childhood. Jake used to bully Remy at school, but years later, they ended up fighting alongside each other in the military. Their shared experiences turned them into best friends. After the war, the Union offered both men jobs, claiming they would be helping people through revolutionary healthcare. They accepted without questioning the darker side of the business. Now they treat the dangerous job almost like a game, constantly joking and messing around like kids whenever they're together. Before leaving, Jake invites Remy out for a beer. Remy agrees, but says he needs to check with Carol first. If she's okay with it, he'll join him. Remy returns home and tells Carol that he's going out with Jake. Carol immediately gets angry. She hates his job and can't stand the fact that he kills people to recover organs. After a heated argument, Remy leaves. In the car, Jake asks what's wrong. Remy admits that Carol wants him to quit, but he has no intention of giving up his job. At a red light, Jake scans a nearby man and discovers that he has an artificial heart. The two start joking with him, warning that if he stops paying, they'll come for him and remove the heart themselves. The man takes them seriously and suddenly runs away, leaving Remy and Jake laughing. Later, they hit a bar, drink heavily, and Remy watches a woman performing on stage. After a long night, he finally returns home. Seeing Carol, Remy tries to get close to her, but she pushes him away. Instead, he goes to Peter and talks with his son about his day. The next day, Remy and Jake are at a party when Jack notices a customer passing nearby. Because of the location, he realizes he can earn double commission if they recover the man's organ outside their normal assignment. Jack secretly asks Remy to help, offering him half the money. Remy agrees. They follow the man and capture him inside a taxi. Jack kills him and removes the artificial organ. But this time, Carol sees everything. Horrified by what she's witnessed, she gives Remy an ultimatum. Either he chooses his family or he chooses the Union. Remy is left shaken. That evening, he tells Jake that he's going to talk to Frank about leaving the job. But before he can make a decision, Frank calls and tells him they have another assignment. As Remy and Jake head out for another mission, they learn about one of the Union's newest technologies. The company is experimenting with damaged brains and has developed a system that can trap a person's consciousness inside a dream, allowing them to live an endless virtual life. But their mission quickly takes a darker turn. They discover a group of more than 100 defaulters who have refused to return their artificial organs. Many are preparing to escape the country. Remy and Jake gear up and storm the house. A brutal shootout breaks out almost immediately. Several men attack Remy, triggering the violent instincts he's been trying to control. He grabs a knife and takes them down one by one. Meanwhile, Jake is pinned down by another attacker. Just before the man can kill him, Remy steps in and takes him out. Jake gets angry, insisting he could have handled it himself. After completing the mission, they return to Frank's office with several recovered organs and 2 jammers. Frank is especially impressed because they had used jammers to block the Union's scanners, making their artificial organs impossible to detect. Frank is impressed. He offers Remy a promotion to captain, but Remy isn't interested. He would rather have a desk job and get away from the killing. Before Remy can say more, Jake cuts him off and tells Frank that Remy will think about it. On the way out, Jake asks if Remy is serious about quitting. Remy tells him this will be his final mission. After that, he's taking a desk job. Jake walks away, leaving Remy to finish what he believes will be his last job in the field. Remy heads out on what he believes will be his final mission. His target is T-Bone, a musician. The moment T-Bone sees Remy, he knows exactly why he's there. But T-Bone asks for a little more time because he's working on a new song. Remy agrees to wait. Once the song is finished, Remy promises to help get it to a production company. Then he tells T-Bone to lie down so he can begin the procedure. But when Remy activates the shock device, something goes horribly wrong. The machine malfunctions and sends the shock back into Remy, knocking him unconscious. 3 days later, Remy wakes up in a hospital with Frank and Jake beside him. They tell him Carol was there, but left after learning he was about to wake up. Then, Remy discovers the worst part. The Union has implanted an artificial heart inside him. Furious, Remy refuses to accept it. He pulls out the device's external plug himself, but immediately starts bleeding heavily. As his condition worsens, he realizes the truth. Without the artificial heart, he'll die. With no other choice, Remy accepts the implant. After recovering, he returns home. But when he tries to unlock the door, he discovers Carol has changed the locks. She opens the door, puts a bag of his belongings outside, and reminds him of the choice she gave him, his family or his job. Remy chose his job. With nowhere else to go, he moves in with Jake. Jake tries to cheer him up, but Remy isn't interested. The next morning, Remy returns to the Union and goes straight back to work. His co-workers welcome him back, and the company even brings in a dancer to celebrate his return. But Remy has no idea that his new artificial heart is about to change everything. That night, Remy returns to work, but his first mission goes wrong. His target suddenly attacks him. Remy manages to knock him unconscious, but something feels different. His heart rate shoots up and he's quickly exhausted. He still begins the procedure, but his hands start shaking. For the first time, Remy realizes he's no longer physically capable of doing the job he once mastered. He stops halfway and walks away. Back at the club, the other Repo Men are laughing and bragging about their latest kills, but Remy can't enjoy it anymore. He starts thinking about the people they've killed. Every one of them had a family, just like he does. For the first time, Remy seriously questions whether what they're doing is wrong. He tells Jake that he couldn't finish his assignment. Jake isn't bothered. He tells Remy to rest and promises they'll handle the next job together. The following day, Remy visits Peter. He hugs his son, but Carol remains distant. She reminds him that he still has unpaid bills and needs to settle them. Desperate for money, Remy takes a sales position at the Union, but his honesty makes him terrible at it. He tells potential customers exactly what happens if they stop paying, frightening most of them away. He even tries gambling to make some quick money, but keeps losing. Eventually, Jake takes him on another recovery job and orders Remy to remove the target's organ himself. Remy tries, but once again, he can't do it. Jake loses his patience and tells him to get himself together. He says Remy should come back only when he's fully ready. Jake leaves, but the unconscious target suddenly wakes up and strikes Remy in the head. Hours later, Remy wakes up and finds the singer from the club, Beth, injured nearby. Instead of leaving her behind, Remy takes her to a motel and treats her wounds. For the first time, he's helping someone without expecting anything in return. When Beth wakes up, she immediately confronts Remy. She has several artificial organs inside her, and she knows the Union will eventually come for them and kill her if she can't pay. Remy tells her he already knows. Her debt is growing, and sooner or later, she'll face the same fate as everyone else. The next day, Remy sneaks into the Union's computer room and tries to erase his records, but he can't delete everything. Jake catches him and quietly tells him to leave before anyone else finds out. Remy takes one last look at Peter, then disappears with Beth. They hide out in an abandoned house, hoping the Union won't find them. Meanwhile, Frank approaches Jake and asks him to take Remy's case. Jake refuses, unwilling to hunt down his best friend. As Remy and Beth spend more time together, they open up about their pasts and gradually grow closer. For the first time, Remy feels like he's living for himself instead of the Union. The next morning, Beth gives him an old typewriter and encourages him to write down his story. But their peace doesn't last. Beth hears someone entering the building and realizes a Repo Man has found them. The man is Raymond, the only Repo Man willing to take Remy's case when everyone else refused. Remy and Beth grab their belongings and try to escape, but there's nowhere to run. Then Remy notices a weak section of the ceiling. Raymond enters and confidently tells Remy he never expected to catch him so easily. But the moment Raymond steps forward, the weakened floor gives way, sending him crashing down. Beth moves toward him, but the fragile floor beneath her also collapses. She falls through, breaking her artificial leg in the process. Raymond tries to reach her, but before he can do anything, Remy grabs the typewriter and throws it straight at his head. Raymond collapses, dead. Remy and Beth have survived, but now the Union knows exactly where they are. Remy and Beth take Raymond's car and head toward the city. Remy promises to get Beth's injured knee treated, but she refuses. She has her own medical tools and begins repairing it herself. Once they reach the Union's headquarters, Remy disguises himself and walks straight inside. No one recognizes him. He reaches Frank's office and attacks him, accusing him of sending Raymond to kill him. Remy throws Raymond's piece of skin onto Frank's desk, revealing the Repo Man tattoo on his neck. He warns Frank that if the Union sends anyone else after him, they'll suffer the same fate. Then Remy demands to know how he can clear his debt. Frank explains that it's almost impossible. After Remy's first attempt to erase his records, the Union changed its entire system. His debt can only be cleared if the artificial organ is physically returned to headquarters. Remy refuses to listen. He knocks Frank unconscious and escapes. Frank immediately orders Jake to find him. Meanwhile, Remy and Beth head to the airport. Beth believes they can finally escape the country because they have jammers that block the Union's scanners from detecting their artificial organ. But their plan starts falling apart when blood begins leaking from Beth's injured leg. They stop and get medical help. While her knee is being treated, the Union's agents arrive for another scan. This time, the scanners detect their unpaid artificial organs. Remy immediately fights back. He and Beth battle their way through the agents, taking down everyone who tries to stop them. Just when it seems they've escaped, Remy spots Jake on the other side of the glass. Jake watches helplessly as Remy picks up Beth and runs. Remy and Beth continue their escape and reach Asbury, an illegal organ dealer. But after examining Beth's injured knee, Asbury admits he can't fix it. He sends them to Alva, the only person capable of performing the complicated surgery. When they arrive, Remy is shocked to discover that Alva has a very young younger sister, who actually performs the operations. Despite her age, she's incredibly skilled and successfully repairs Beth's knee. Afterward, Remy and Beth return to Asbury, only to discover that he's been killed and his organs have been removed. Then Jake appears. He tells Remy he doesn't want to kill him and asks him to come back to the Union. Remy refuses, saying he's changed since the accident. Jake reveals the truth: the accident wasn't an accident. He deliberately caused it to injure Remy and force him into taking a desk job. Remy is furious and attacks Jake. The two best friends engage in a brutal fight. Jake eventually gains the upper hand and knocks Remy down. Remy pulls out a knife and stabs Jake in the leg, but Jake manages to knock him unconscious. When Remy wakes up, Jake is lying unconscious beside him. Remy realizes they don't have much time. The Repo Men will be coming. Suddenly, a large group of people with unpaid artificial organs surrounds them. A woman suddenly points a gun at Remy, convinced he's another Repo Man sent to hunt them down. Instead of fighting back, Remy shows her the scars left by his own artificial heart. He tells her that he's just like them now. The Union is hunting him too. The woman slowly lowers her gun. The others realize Remy isn't their enemy, and they agree to protect him and Beth. But Remy is becoming increasingly desperate and knows they can never truly escape. Finally, he tells Beth there is only one way to end this. They have to break into the Union's headquarters and destroy the system from within. As they prepare for the attack, Remy unexpectedly comes face to face with Carol on the subway. Carol refuses to listen to Remy, and the two get into a heated argument. Before things get worse, Peter suddenly steps in and knocks Carol unconscious with a taser. He tells Remy he'll be waiting for him and asks his father to come back soon. Remy leaves with Beth. They first confront Frank at gunpoint and take his car. Then they drive straight to the Union's headquarters. Once inside, Remy and Beth fight their way through anyone who tries to stop them. They eventually reach the facility where the Union's scientists are creating artificial organs. The scientists barely react to their presence, until one of them notices Remy and suddenly runs through a nearby door. Remy and Beth chase after him. Guards quickly arrive and open fire, killing several scientists in the chaos. Beth manages to get through the door the scientists escaped from, but more guards surround them from every direction. Remy tells Beth to stay calm. He pulls out 2 knives and uses the combat skills he learned years ago. One by one, the guards rush him, but Remy takes them down with brutal precision. Remy and Beth finally reach the control room and lock themselves inside. But Jake and Frank arrive outside, and Remy realizes they can't access the main computer without passing one final security check. The system requires them to scan their artificial organs and verify that the payments are cleared. So, Remy and Beth begin removing their organs and scanning them one by one. Once the system confirms that everything has been paid off, Remy starts working on Beth's organs. Then Jake enters. He sees Remy performing the procedure and is ordered by Frank to kill him. But Remy asks Jake to let him finish, saying this could be the most important thing he's ever done. Jake suddenly stabs Frank instead. He then hands Remy the surgical tools he needs and helps him complete the operation. Meanwhile, Jake plants 2 bombs inside the main computer system. Remy finishes the procedure just in time. The bombs explode, destroying the Union's entire payment system. With the system gone, people can no longer be forced to pay for their artificial organs. Everything seems to end happily. Remy, Beth, and Jake later appear to be enjoying a vacation at the beach. Jake is holding a book, the story Remy wrote about everything that happened. But then Jake suddenly disappears. The scene changes. Remy is actually lying unconscious. We discover that everything we've just seen was happening inside Remy's mind while he was in a coma after Jake knocked him unconscious. In reality, Jake never betrayed him. Instead, he paid off Remy's artificial organ debt and stayed by his side, waiting for him to wake up. Beth then gives Jake the complete manuscript Remy wrote during his imagined escape. His story is finally ready to be published, and with that, the story of Remy comes to an end.